Hello, today I'm with Deborah Jane Sutton. Hello, Deborah.
Hello, Mark.
So,
Nice to be here.
it was very nice to have you here. Quick introduction. I found Deb. I don't know how I found you. I just saw something. It resonated. This is the way it works, right? I resonated with you. I didn't know you. I went onto your Facebook page and then I went onto your website. And I think it was, you're just to explain to everybody, you're an intuitive energy healer, and you work with souls and loads of great stuff. So this is most people watching it would understand what that is. But I think, do you know what I think it was on your website? Because I was looking at it this morning. Was you had that quote from Tesla, which is one of my all-time favorite quotes, which is, if you want to think about the universe, think about it in terms of vibrational frequency. So I've been extremely interested in vibrational frequency, extremely interested in the Great Awakening, as referred to by the number 17, which I'm not going to mention on the YouTube channel, otherwise the video will go. And but also I've wrestled with this concepts of 3D to 5D ascension, lifting of the veil stuff. So I think and then also I reached out to Deborah and I said, look, right, can you do me a healing? We did a healing. You got a bit excited because you realized I was from, what's the name of the place?
Arcturian.
Arcturian.
Same starseed. You're my starseed brother.
Wow, how cool is that? So, I mean, it's funny that I have heard of Arturius, is it? Arturian
Yes.
consciousness
Arcturus,
before,
yeah.
but you hear a lot more. You hear a lot more about Palladian consciousness, and I've met lots of people that talk about messages from the Palladians, but I've never met any. When you say that's because there's lots of more Palladian consciousness.
It's not my area of expertise, so I'm not claiming it to be. But from what I gather, the Palladians are they're all here helping us, and so are the Arcturians and the Syrians are there. I mean, it's the whole, there's a whole intergalactic realm going on.
I'd like to get into that deeper, but I think at the beginning of this video, because there are these global protests going on today, I think you've got something interesting to say about that. So let's start with the protests today, if you want.
Yeah, sure. If I can just say though that when it comes to energy healing, because the thing is though, it's a bit like The Secret, isn't it? Everyone is saying the same message, but we're all just saying it differently and from our own experience and from our own perceptions, our own filter or what have you. So just to make it clear that where I'm coming in from, and you talked about Nikola Tesla, where I'm coming in from is for some reason, whatever, I see everything as energy. And I think that's the point. And I also simplify everything. So although the roots of energy healing lie in quantum physics, please don't ask me anything about quantum physics, because I will just pass you over to like Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, and the rest of them. But for me personally, I just see it very simply as everything is energy. I see everything as falling somewhere on the consciousness scale, which I'm going to share my screens later and show. And I just think that simplified view helps people just understand, the importance of shifting their energy from fear into love, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it does make sense. There's a few things that you make me think of. So for years, I've sat around dinner tables tapping the table saying, that table is only, it's not really there. It's only, you only think it's there because the frequency of the atoms inside that are going at a different frequency to the ones on your finger. And also protests are interesting. I remember the last big protest I remember was the Gulf War against Tony Blair protest that was going on in London when there was like 1 million people there. What I learned is that if you go out protesting saying we're anti-war, what you're actually doing is giving more energy to the war. If it was a peace march, that's a different thing, because then you're giving energy to peace. So that is really the most important point, and that is the most crucial point. I mean, I remember back when, I think it was the weekend of when Trump came into power, and there was a number of women, women's rights movements, marches in a lot of capital cities. But they were going out with the energy of anger and hate and unhappiness. It was like, I saw a picture of someone saying, I can't believe I'm still protesting about women's rights, and I was thinking,
I was like, I can't believe you're still doing it as well, because it's so simple. The two universal laws to remember are everything is energy and like attracts like. So if you're marching in the street giving anger, you're going to just create a reality, because the reality is a reflection of what's within us. So you're going to create a reality of anger. If you're putting out the energy of I'm not happy being a woman, you're just going to get more unhappiness of being a woman. You know, this is why positive affirmations are so important and beliefs are so important. If I put out the energy of I'm happy as Larry about being a woman, and my whole life is, you know, it's not an issue, you know. So, you know, it's the energy you put out, is the energy that is the reality that you're creating. So it is really important for protesters to understand that, because if they go with angry energy, they're going to that's their contribution to the collective. It's their contribution to the world. If you just remember that feeling, whatever feeling you have inside of you, that's what you're contributing to the world. So make sure that the feeling you have inside of you is the way you want to spend the rest of your life. I don't want to spend it angry.
Yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in energy and think that you're doing something good, you know, when actually you're doing something. That's why they let these protests go on. I mean, you look at the BLM protests during the lockdown. You know, it was like, stay 2 meters apart unless you're protesting, and they
yeah.
you know.
But I think the interesting thing there, Mark, is the origin of it and the intention behind the origin, because I think there was some negative intention behind the origin of that. But yeah, that's your area to say that. But I think the ones happening today, the intention is so really positive. But the point is, you know, there's obviously the protests towards the government about the restrictions that are going on and the control and the lack of freedom going on. So that's one area. So there's the anger and lack of control. And on the other side, of course, with what else is going on, you know, there is just not just the fear, but there's the anger, there's the disgust, there's the hatred, you know, I mean, and the loathing that's going on, which is really intense, obviously. And I think it's really important that we don't focus on the thing that we're trying to eliminate. You know, we're focusing on what we're trying to create. We are powerful creators of our own experience, and it's energy, it's not personal. We will create what we put our focus on. We will create whatever images we put in our head, whatever emotions we're feeling, whatever thoughts we're thinking, that's what we're going to create. So it's so important to create. And to generate, to feel, you just need to take a couple of minutes, take a few breaths and feel the divine love from within you, which now is easier with your heart wall gone. But you know, to feel that divine love and bring it up and feel that unity, so that when they're going to the protest and they're seeing all these people and they don't know them, but they are them. You know, it's like just seeing the other souls, looking in the eyes and feeling the sense of unity, because if they can generate that divine love, that unity and that peace that comes, that's the reality that we're looking to create, right?
Absolutely. Now, I think I'm going through a healing crisis because I've had you, and then I had another one yesterday, and I'm just loads of stuff's coming at me. As far as I understand it, I'd be interested in your thoughts. There is a lot of this time that we're in is to do with the change in energy, end of a Mayan 26,000 year cycle, a sun activity, right, which is literally putting different frequencies into us and changing our DNA, and you know, and that's what this 3D to 5D thing is all about. The ascension, lifting of the veil, the great awakening. All of that, it seems to be intrinsically tied up with everything that's been going on in 2020 so far. And I have done talks on the law of attraction, and I talk about the mind being a transceiver, and you know, you can literally manifest anything. And I've got some great manifesting stories. I won't go into all of them now, but maybe we'll talk about those later. But I've noticed personally that manifestation is like it's faster than it's ever been. And if you do, and I'm an idiot as well. Sometimes I get up and I just get on with the washing up, and sometimes I forget. But most days I will start with gratitude. I will take time to stand on the lawn and think about not just what I want for the day, but I do my own affirmations and do those all the time. And I teach people to do this on the side all the time, even using Post-it notes around the house, because you mentioned the secret earlier, which I thought was interesting, because I ran a company in the UK about 10 years ago, and I got the secret for everybody, all the managers. We employed a lot of people, and I gave the secret to everybody, and I got people around my house to watch The Secret and Thrive, the movie, and stuff like that. And it was like pushing water uphill with some people. But one thing I thought was interesting, and I want to mention it here, because The Secret to me has a missing element, and that is belief. It's similar to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. When that book was commissioned and put out, they took a few chapters out, because it's like the Bible. They took the books of Enoch out of the Bible.
You're not making it so easy. You have to do something for yourself.
Yeah, because they know that we are spiritual beings, so they give us a bit of food, but they don't give us the missing bits, which is why you've got the mystery schools and all these secret societies and hidden knowledge. So I've rambled a bit there, but relating back to the protests, you're absolutely right, and I think that's an important message. And if anybody watching this knows any protesters or is doing any protesting, they should share this video, take on board what Deborah's saying, and focus on it being peaceful and with the right intention, and that will massively affect the outcome.
I think most people are. I mean, most people are, because I've seen that, we've got the Freedom for the Children Facebook groups and everything, and most people are. And the people, that are still feeling angry, it's just an awareness process, isn't it? It's just a process of awareness. It's a process of waking up, and they're going to the protest, which is it's all good. I mean, it is all good. It's just something to keep in mind, so that we can, help people, raise their awareness a bit more. That's all.
And of course, the protests do get infiltrated, and you can have a revolution with 10 people, in a country. You can change a government. I believe in the Russian Revolution, which was organized by the Rothschilds and the Phoenicians. They did it with like 30 people. That's all it took, which is quite interesting. And it's a bit like a petri dish, right? So if you've got a petri dish full of bacteria, you only have to introduce one piece of foreign bacteria, and then it goes boom, and then the whole dish is gone.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting, because I think also Washington had, maybe, I don't know if statistics worked back in the 1700s, but I read that he had only like 11% support of the country when he went up against the British, and then against the odds won, right? Which I feel like is a similar, this is like a revolution that we're in now, or I don't like the word revolution, but there's definitely big changes going on. So how do you interpret the Great Awakening? As Q has been, as 17 has been saying for the last 3 years, this is the time of the Great Awakening. How would you interpret that?
Well, for me personally, the reason that it's so exciting now, I mean, for me, to be honest with you, Mark, my reality is all around healing. It's healing orientated, and I love hearing the political side, the historic side. I'm interested in all of that. The astrological side, that's the big one, obviously, astrology, and the biblical side, the spiritual side. I mean, I'm interested in all of it, but my focus, my area of expertise is in the healing side of things. And I think what makes the Great Awakening so powerful and so effective at the moment is because it's coming in from all areas. And this is what I like about it, is, like I say, it is astrology is telling us. I mean, as a card reader, I'm a tarot card reader as well. And the cards, I think any tarot card reader will tell you, any psychic, anyone will tell you that we all knew that something big was happening in the spring of 2020, because we saw it in the cards, quite literally, and in astrology, they see it very clearly, everything, I follow certain astrologists, it's not my area. So, we knew that something was happening in the spring of 2020, but although most people didn't guess exactly what. But I think the reason it's so massive is because it is covering all areas of life. It's political, it's third dimensional, it's fourth dimensional, it's astrological, it's spiritual, it's biblical, it's historic. And so it's, we cannot deny it. There's the thing, because, you know, we cannot deny it anymore.
No, I mean, even if you're completely asleep and you're walking around with a mask driving a car, you know something's wrong. You just don't know what it is. And at the moment, the government's just inputting the information into them to keep them in their pens.
You know what I think is important, and I think this is an important point, because this is what I say to people, because obviously a lot of what I do with helping people step into their power, helping people step into their divine power, not their ego power or their power at work or anything. I'm talking about your divine power, whereby you're in tune with your highest self. And expressing your gifts and everything. That's, you know, the idea of actually helping people express who they are. That's really what I like to do with people. And to do that, there's always a leap of faith. You know, it is a leap of faith. And on some level, they all know that they need to take a leap of faith, or they all know that they're inspired by something, and it's limiting beliefs that's stopping them. You know, oh, I can't afford it. You know, what would so-and-so say? Everybody will laugh at me. People always kind of stop themselves from moving forward and doing what they came here to do. And that's what I think is the important thing. And it's a case of people preferring their comfort zone. And it's all about comfort zones. And you can't grow if you stay in your comfort zone, obviously, because comfort zone, the whole purpose of it is that your energy isn't changing. And so you can't evolve, you can't grow. You have to step out of your comfort zone. And that's what a leap of faith is all about. So what I'm thinking, what's happening now is all these people that are stuck in their, and it's easy to get stuck in a comfort zone. There's no judgment coming here. I mean, we've all been there, right? It's really easy to get stuck in a comfort zone. But what's happening now, you've just said, there's someone driving a car with a mask on, and they're sitting in the car on their own.
In case they catch a virus on themselves. I mean, they've just lost reason.
Yeah, but it's like, what's happening now is your comfort zone, or their comfort zone, is not comfortable anymore. You know, it's not. And also, ignorance is bliss. We all know this phrase, and I think it's been fairly true most of our life. It's not true anymore. Ignorance is no longer bliss, because ignorance is fear. The people that are ignorant are fearful. And maybe this is a good time for me to bring my chart in. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Because I'm on a roll now.
You are. Great.
Can I, let's have a look. Okay, can you see that?
I can.
Can I make that bigger somehow? Oh, hang on, can maybe
hear. To the bishop.
Mark, please.
I can't resist bad jokes.
Okay, is that clear? Can you see that?
Yeah, that's perfect, yeah.
I just want us to bend a little, because we're talking about fear, we're talking about coming out of fear, and a lot of people don't understand how. You know, I'm always talking about raising your vibrations, and people think that it's literally just about, you know, being positive, you know, but if you're feeling negative and you're just pretending to be positive, I mean, it might help you a bit, but hopefully understanding the bigger picture behind all of this. This is what I like to explain to people, the bigger picture behind all of this, because that helps them make the changes that they need to make, I think. So here, this is the scale of consciousness, and it's just a small part of the map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins in his book, Power versus Force. But unfortunately, there's copyright rules on that, so we can't put that out to more than 10 people at a time. And I know that you have a following. So this is your scale of consciousness, okay? Now you can see from this scale that, like, shame and guilt, these are the emotions, okay? The number is the frequency at which they're vibrating. So it's really, really clear that, you know, shame and guilt are your lowest vibrating frequencies. Okay?
Yeah, I spent quite a few years there.
Well, if you think about us as being like an average, you know, we've obviously got some love and joy in us. We've got some pride, we've got some anger. You know, we've got a little bit of all of this. Obviously, we've got a little bit of all of this going on. So really, it's a bit like, which is your default setting, which is your overriding, you know, which is your...
I think I've been around 500, you know, between 400 and 600 this week. It's been, and amazing things happened.
Yeah. So you can move up and down this scale, but there's an overriding level of consciousness. And according to Dr. David Hawkins, and I agree with him, he's not with us anymore, unfortunately, but you can measure everything and anything. You can measure everything and anything in the world on the scale of consciousness.
Well, this is really interesting because in my marketing talks, I talk, over the years, I've said if you don't measure it, you can't manage it.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's the same with consciousness. This is great news to me because I relate to that.
Okay. I mean, I love using this on my retreats because I kind of measure people's level of consciousness before they come and then when they leave, But you can measure on here books, films, systems. This is what's interesting because the systems of today that are all collapsing are all built on negative intentions anyway. So, and we're going to rebuild them, right, in the new earth on positive divine intentions. So that in itself is going to be healing to everyone that is involved in those systems. Everything is energy. I can't... that is such an important point. Everything is energy and like attracts like.
Sorry. No, I was just thinking, because this is the way my mind works. Wouldn't it be great if we could create an app that measures people's consciousness and then we could map the whole planet with the consciousness level and then do things to help them raise their consciousness?
That's interesting. I'm going to give a plug now for focuslifeforceenergy.net.
Oh, I've used them.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you? So it's amazing. Any technology, it's like the 5G towers are now going to be like Tesla towers. I'm going
to stop you there. How do you know that?
I don't, but I just read that on...
Yeah, I've read it as well, but I've not seen the evidence.
No, okay. But we're living in hope and and I believe that if there's a technology, for example, the internet, it can be used for negative and positive, okay? And the phones, with all their negative energy. I mean, I have a shungite crystal on mine so that the negative energy doesn't affect me. Okay, well done. But focuslifeforceenergy.net, they take it a stage further and they send high vibrating love frequency down the phone energy. And of course, if the phone can create negative energy, it can also create positive. So that's why I have faith and I have belief. And I do believe, I mean, I don't know the details, I don't, so, disclaimer there, but I do believe that anything that has been used for negatively can be used positively. I mean, that's the way it is. And so what they do, Focus Life Force Energy, is they send basically the frequency of love down your phone so that it's emanating that frequency. And so it will slowly over time raise your own frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you are particularly low, you're probably not going to it won't come into your reality. It won't, if you're not ready for it. That's the way it works. And then for 5 minutes a day, you get a boost, which goes up to 600, right? Now, when I first did that boost, I was just about to do some work and it made me actually a little bit like this. So what I did in the beginning with the 600 was just to use it for meditation. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, I just want to, when you did that heart healing on me, I had exactly the same thing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, it's because you're obviously raising the vibration. You're putting it into such a high vibrational state. I mean, if you were vibrating at a really low level, that's, you're going to be completely... it can be uncomfortable, but then you wouldn't put yourself in that reality. So so you can feel yourself. I mean, now we've got a shed load of high vibrating energy coming in, okay? Yeah. As you said in the beginning, which is why a lot of us are feeling a bit like that anyway. And it's coming in on the Schumann scale, people measure it.
I check the Schumann scale every day, and that's for anybody watching this, that's the vibrational frequency of the planet, and you can find it really easily as a website.
Exactly. So everybody's vibration is rising, and what's happening really is as this light comes in, the low frequencies they can't hang around, because they're not resonating. So that's why there's so much low frequency being exposed and eradicated, because they can't sustain themselves in this high frequency. And that's the whole point of raising our frequency. I mean, dare we mention any illnesses that have been going around lately, but their energy is low. So if your vibration is low, it can come into your reality. So all these people arguing, it doesn't exist, it does exist. People are creating their own reality based on their own frequency. So if you are vibrating at a high frequency, such pathogens are not going to affect you, right?
So that brings a question up. We are, this year has been biggest experience of imposed fear that I've ever seen. So, you know, how does that sit? Because
well, exactly. I mean, and in the beginning, you know, yeah, we were all fearful. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, looking at the chart, in the beginning of this year, say March of this year, you know, there was a lot of fear in the world. I mean, of course there was, you know, and then people started waking up, and then that fear turned into anger. All right, so we're looking at the chart and we can see that anger is above fear, is a higher vibration. A lot of people ask me, they're surprised that anger is so high up on this list. But what I want to say about anger, of course, is that the thing about anger is people that are expressing anger, they want change. They're looking for change. And somebody, for example, that was apathetic, they are so depressed that they really don't care. Okay, so anger is positive in the fact that the people are seeking change, and they're willing to take action to create change. The problem with anger is that people believe when they're angry, usually, I'm generalizing, people believe that the solution to their whatever they're angry about has to come from somebody on the outside of them. They don't understand that they are the solution to their own anger, and that their feeling of anger is coming from within them. And if they can release that, okay, which of course with the emotion code we can do, and with lots of other energy healing modalities, and we can release trapped emotions numerous ways, okay, but obviously I focus on the emotion code. But when you can release that anger from within you, like attracts like. I'm coming back to it every single time. You will not, it's not personal, it's physics. You will not attract a reality. You will not create a reality of anger because it's not from within you. You know how people say, you know, a drop in the ocean, and Rumi says, you know, you're not a drop in the ocean, you're the whole ocean in one drop. And I always say, you know, you're not one individual, you're not an individual human in the universe, you are the whole universe in one individual human. And that's what people don't get their heads around. And it's the universe within you that we're constantly healing. And the collection, the collective, and the reality is a reflection of all of that. So, and there's a little side note, but an irrelevant one. So all the people that want to help the children at the moment, okay, obviously we've got Operation Underground Railroad. If people want to physically get involved, please do. But for those that want to help and don't know what to do, the answer is heal your own inner child. Heal your own inner child, because that's the universe, it's within you. And if you heal your own inner child, that's what it's all about. So now, I mean, I'm going to be recording an inner child healing, because now you're going to find that inner child healing is, I mean, it's always been important on someone in people's healing journeys, but I think you're going to find it's going to be even more important coming up. But so getting back to the chart, we went from fear into anger, okay, and then what we will need to make sure with this news that's coming out, we're going into neutrality. People are now very willing. They're having peaceful protests. People are working up this chart. They're coming out of this contracted, controlled, life is happening to me energy, and expanding into more of who they are, the peace and the love, and understanding that life is happening for them, and that they have the power to change the way they think. They have the power to step into more of who they are, and actually move into this expanded, going with the flow, as you said earlier on. You know, when you're in
do you think on a consciousness level that this mask wearing stuff is all a test to give us the time to find the inner strength, or to look inwards to start to move forward in that respect? Is that
to make us think for ourselves?
Yeah, and which is why it's called the Great Awakening, which is why 17 has always been about thinking for yourselves and working things out.
I mean, there are some people that are still, you know, and it is, I mean, it's sad. I mean, it's understandable, I want to say. It's understandable. I mean, it's very difficult for people to understand that people and organizations that they spent their entire life support, you know, trusting. I mean, you know, we're both British, right? So if we think about the BBC,
No.
We were brought up. We were brought up to trust it, to believe it, you know. And
This is
so
brainwashing corporation, I call it.
I know, but there are people that can't get their head around that, and that's, you know. So I understand it, but there comes a time, and there's a lot of judgment going on, and there's a lot of, you know, people we've noticed with a lot of the videos going on, and I do understand it, and I'm not saying I'm devoid of judgment, right? It's just that I am trying to catch myself when I feel judgments, and I'm trying to come from, I'm trying to come from a higher place. But, you know, there are people calling the less conscious people, you know, sort of, you know, stupid and idiot and stuff like this, and of course they're not. No. They're just less conscious, you know. But when we hear that, you know, for example, pathogens can't survive in certain temperatures, and, you know, you hear all of these things, and then people are still, and even the government website, you know, because I think we both shared that, because I think I got it from you, the government website that clearly states that, you know, that COVID-19 has not been a contagious, you know, disease since March, you know. Yeah, I've shared that with people, and they literally have said to me, "Oh yes, but it's still rife in such and such an area."
I can't believe it, and also I was shopping with the kids the other day, and the guy behind the counter had his mask on, and I didn't. And he said something really frightening to me. He said, "Well, now it's the second wave coming, and now we've got to blame, it's the fault of the teenagers, the kids. We've got to blame the kids now." I was like, "What? Blame the kids? Do you know any kids that have got this? Now you want to blame the kids?" I was like really freaked. You also said something interesting earlier. You when you did this about 5 minutes ago, I thought she's going to say prayer, and I had something to say. Now, I wrote a blog post about 6 years ago about the problem with prayer, right? And I'd just be interested in your thoughts on this, because what my blog post actually said was, and I worked this out for myself, right, is the problem with prayer is that you are praying to a God outside of you instead of. And I've been really, you know, it's a journey for all of us, but really a lot of things you say with great passion and clarity, and it all makes sense. And then you go back out into your ordinary life. You really just got to keep censoring yourself, haven't you? You keep.
It's interesting because, and I'm aware that this will go out, so but the truth is, and I'm, you know, a truth speaker like you, I was brought up in a family whereby half of them were born again Christians, and half of them were atheists. And I think that kind of really helped me because I could feel the truth from both sides, you know.
Interesting, because my dad was an atheist, but as I said on the Charlie Ward show, I had there was a religious cult all around me. Not my family weren't in it, but they were all around me, and I knew people in it. And I went to church because my great grandfather was very Christian, you know, and I loved him, so I picked that up. But so I think it is useful to have the two sides.
Well, definitely, and it's this asking questions again, isn't it? I mean, I've always asked questions, and I mean, the main question I've always asked is, what is the meaning of life? I mean,
the Monty Python film made in 1978.
You're showing your age.
You're all individuals. I'm not. I'm fine. Oh, I've got the dates wrong. Meaning of life was 82. Sorry, I'm just being a geek. Yeah. Well, that was 5 minutes ago to me. Is that showing my age? To me, it's like I make the kids watch it.
But I think it's important to stay in our youth, obviously. Yeah. But going back to prayer and going back to I mean, God, the word God, I think we mentioned it the other day. I've always found it interesting. So if someone says, "Do you believe in God?" and it's like, well, really, that depends on what your definition of God is. You tell me what your definition of God is, and I'll tell you whether I believe in it or not. So my atheists have got, you know, one definition of God, and the born-again Christians have got another definition of God, and I don't actually, you know, it's because, again, and I keep saying this, it's not personal, it's energy. I just think it's energy. It always comes back to energy. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. And one thing that I think the religious people are going to have a problem with is understanding that like our education system has been corrupted, our banking system has been corrupted, our political system has been corrupted, all this corruption going on. I'm sorry, I feel it, that the Bible has been corrupted, you know, and people are struggling with that. The BBC has been corrupted, you know, it's people are struggling with the Christians are struggling with the fact that the Bible has been corrupted, but there's so much good in the Bible. I mean, obviously, you know, it's you know, a great book to read, I want to say. But you've hit the nail on the head. It's because they perceive God as being separate. Yeah. And if God is that source, I don't usually use the word God, I use the word source energy, because energy comes from source, right? So, you know, if you think that you are separate from source, you are literally, because you're thinking, and we create our reality with our thoughts. So if you think you're separate, boom, you have just cut off your life force energy.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think the whole system that we've been entrapped in is all based upon separation. It's all about making you feel like you're meaningless. You're just a meat soup. Yeah. You're nothing. Because once you know, and having, you know, unfortunately, I remember my dad saying about a week before he died, he said when it's over, it's over. That's what he said to me. I was 17, and I was like, "What? You don't believe in God?" He said, "Well, there can't be a God. When it's over, it's over." And then a week later, he was dead.
I think that the important point here, though, is that not only are they trying to keep us in a place of separation, but they actually make it blasphemous to say, "I am God."
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I did a meme about this about, again, 6 years ago, saying, "I am the universe. The universe is me."
Yeah.
And I was going through a process at the time. I'd actually been channeled to write a book called Life is Easy, and I started writing it, and I started putting it up, and I thought, you know, I worked on the internet, so I put the website up, and all these memes were coming to me, but I felt like a fraud, and because also I started getting people say, "Oh, you think life is easy for you, but what about starving kids in Africa?" type thing, and I was like, "He's got a point." And then I kind of got. And that's when I really started to understand the entity stuff, because every time you vibrate at a high frequency, I think this is interesting, and I'm very keen to keep exploring this. But when you vibrate at a higher frequency, you become like a beacon, and they just come at you. Or when I say they, we've had this conversation about angels, demons, God, and all these terminologies. It's just consciousness, right?
It's also just your belief.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's also just your belief.
What I mean is, the consciousness is energy, and we label it. That's what, you know, we have these words for what is actually just energy. Yeah. So,
but also the other thing is when you if it confused you about the starving children in Africa, the thing is, though, from an energetic perspective, we are everything. We are those starving children in Africa, and we are everything. And although people will say, "Oh yes, but we've got a privileged life now," it's like with all the prejudice stuff that came up, you know. Yeah. I've had other lifetimes. I mean, we're not so much past. I don't think of them as past, because of no past.
Everything's all at the same time.
Exactly, but they are less conscious lives. I think that they're less conscious lives, and I've had loads of them. You know, I've been Indian and you know, black and all sorts of male, obviously, and we've all been perpetrators and victims. You know, we are the perpetrator, we are the victim. You know, we are everything.
Yeah, the reason why people find that difficult to understand is because of the ego. I mean, I had some healing not long ago, and somebody said, "Oh, at one point in history, you were this really evil, bad Viking guy that raped everybody." And I was like, "Oh God, shit, was I?" And
yeah.
And then you have to get past that.
Yeah, because I do a lot of the past life healing, and it comes up a lot, and I have to explain to people that, you know, they haven't always been as conscious. You know, there's no blame, there's no judgment. You know, we have to keep coming back to the fact that it's just less conscious activity. And the thing is, so we carry energy. So we were looking at the chart, and we talk about energy that we're carrying in this lifetime. People are very conscious of becoming conscious of the emotional energy that they're carrying, or emotional baggage in this lifetime. But then we realize, and you realize this with one of the healings, that we actually carry biological energy from our biological parents. We carry ancestral energy. We carry cultural energy. And we've got all the energies from other lifetimes, and
Well,
it's in the cells of our body.
Yeah,
so
I should correct. So in the first video on this channel, I said that you'd told me I had 84 past life ancestral things. It was not 84. It was 43, wasn't it? Something. I
think it was 43. It does go. It can go up to 80 something.
It's a big number.
It is a big number.
How do you know that? How do you know that was? How can you tell?
I think the easiest way to explain that for anyone that does, there's a lot of people that work in that, soul healing and what have you, and soul reading. A lot of people refer to it as Akashic record reading, which basically just means the ether. It just means the consciousness. It just means the all that is, the infinite intelligence. I mean, there are so many different names for it. And really, you can tap into it. And again, we're coming back to belief, Mark. It's all belief. Because it's like when I'm working on my retreats and people work on themselves, and then they're like, oh, but how do I actually then do what you do when you actually tune into people from a distance, And I just said, do you think you can? I went, oh no, I don't know how to do that. And then I just say, do it, just do it. Just tune into me and then do the process, and they do it and it works. And they're like, I'm like, do you believe it now? And they're like, it's belief.
Oh, you're good. I just want to finish off that story about my dad, because he has his consciousness has been coming to me a lot. So, Dad, it was wrong, about it all, because.
I wonder whether I've had someone with me all morning, and I don't know who it is. It's not my area of expertise. But normally they only come when I'm working with somebody energetically. So maybe, okay, that's interesting. I don't have all the answers.
If somebody's watching this and thinks, oh, this energy thing's a load of nonsense, well, I don't think anybody thinking that would get this far in the video. So if somebody's watching this that
switched off.
Gets it to some degree, what practical things can somebody do to raise their frequency right now in the middle of this?
Well, I am glad you asked me that, Mark. You are fantastic, because it is all about raising your vibration, and it is easier said than done. I mean, as in, there's lots of different ways of doing it. And I would say the first step, to download from my website, my first book, which is free, Heal Yourself to Happiness. Because in Heal Yourself to Happiness, I cover affirmations and the power of words. It's all energy. Gratitude and the power of gratitude, it's all energy. And there's a chapter all about different things like color and obviously exercise, yoga, all sorts of things, crystals, feng shui, you name it. So there's so many different ways, and it is important to, if you want to raise your vibration, to understand that, as you said, everything is energy. So you're looking at the cosmetics that you're using, the food you're putting in your mouth, and the consuming, what films are you watching, what books are you reading, what people are you mixing. It really is everything. So if you want to raise your vibration, you need to actually look around you and see everything as energy, and make sure that what you put in is positive energy. And then, of course, acknowledging any negative energy from within you, rather than putting a wall around your heart and like keeping it there, acknowledging that you have trapped emotions, and then releasing them. And there's many ways of releasing them. You've got emotional freedom technique. You can obviously scream and shout and cry. Cry is like the best innate way.
Well, I had a really good scream a few weeks ago, and then it turned into singing, and I was singing at the top of my voice, and it was incredible. Incredible.
And laughter. I mean, laughter is also really good.
Well,
if you wanted to be more conscious about it, obviously, you can. I use the emotion code, and the emotion code is a self-help book. So you read it. The problem with it, learning the emotion code, isn't so much the emotion code. It's learning to muscle test yourself. That's what most people struggle with. And it's the muscle testing that we use with the Psyche and the soul realignment and a lot of other things that we do. So muscle testing is one of the things that I do help people study and learn, because I think it's life-changing in itself. If you can muscle test yourself, you can check all your foods for allergies and intolerances and all sorts of things. So the first step to raise your vibration, I would say download my book from my website. It's free.
I'm going to do that. I've not had time to read it. I recommend that.
You're already on to the second one, which is you have to pay for that. It's on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Good old Amazon, eh? Right. So really, one of I remember starting to read a website years ago, and it was actually introduced to me, and it was called In 5D. And I'm not talking about now, but back then I was like, what does this mean? What does 5D mean? I have no idea what it. I felt it was coming. All my intuition was, this is why I'm reading this stuff. This is why I'm going on ayahuasca retreats. This is why I'm doing peyote ceremonies. This is why I'm exploring all of this stuff. But I didn't really know why. Or it was kind of like, I was always avoiding the question. There was a really interesting guy who's passed on now, who kept ringing me and I kept avoiding him. And eventually I got speaking to him, and he did something mind-blowing on the phone, which made me go, shit, this guy's real. And then I became friends with him. And it turns out he was after me because he thought I was supposed to be a healer. And he was trying to teach me stuff. And he was we'd sit for lunch and he'd say, what can you see in that room? And I'd go, oh, yeah. And I was like, I didn't know I could do that. And he'd go, yeah. And it was like Yoda and Luke Skywalker. It was amazing. But what does 5D mean? To somebody who is maybe listening to this because they want to explore it, what does it mean to be the lifting of the veil? What does it mean to you? Because I trust you.
Okay.
I think you understand this better than I do. So. Well,
yeah, if we put the way I look at it, and again, I simplify everything. So I'm just you're great in all these details and all this everything else. I just bring everything back down to the simplicity. But the way I perceive it is the physical body is third dimensional, okay, and energetically, okay. Obviously, our energy doesn't end at our skin, right? So you've got some people that can see auras and stuff, and I sort of, you can kind of feel the energy, can't you?
It's in our language. Good vibe, bad vibe. It's in our language. Of course. We all use that language.
And you can walk into a room and you can sometimes cut the atmosphere with a knife or what have you.
As my old friend Hovis Presley used to say, you could cut the atmosphere with specialist atmosphere cutting equipment.
Say that again?
You could cut the atmosphere with specialist atmosphere cutting equipment. Oh. He was a very, very, very funny poet.
So if people know that there is an energy to, that our energy extends far beyond our physical body. And the fourth dimension, this is the way I perceive it, but the fourth dimension is your emotional and mental body. So now you're getting into the non-physical, because we can't see the emotions, we can't see thought processes. They have an impact, and you can normally see the emotion within somebody, but you can't actually see them, right? Although some people might be able to. So that's your fourth dimension. It's very, I would say, emotionally and mental orientated. And then your fifth dimension is where your soul is. And the soul knows what you really should be doing and why you came here. And the soul will talk to you through your heart. Now, your thought processes and your emotions will talk to you through your mind, which is connected to the ego, okay? So, to transcend the fourth dimension and start living in the fifth dimension, or on heaven, not heaven on earth, you don't have the duality. So you don't have all this polarity that's going on. And we discussed earlier on, when things are meant to be, when things are right, they're effortless. They're effortless, and you can just move forward with grace and ease. And you don't question anything, because if you question it, that's in your fourth dimensional thinking process. And if you think about it, if you have to think about something, you're operating from your fourth dimension, which is fine, because most people on the planet now are operating in the fourth dimension. That's fine. But if you transcend into the fifth dimension, where things are actually choiceless, things just flow, you're not worried, abundance is there, you already feel abundance, so you don't worry about, worrying about money is a third dimensional concept, because there's so much abundance in the fifth dimension. So it's an energy frequency, that's what we're talking about. And I guess our aim is to spend more of our time there.
Will I still be able to interview you on YouTube in 5D?
Hopefully.
Hopefully YouTube can take it over by the good guys by then, and we can do more of this sort of thing. And then I could just, instead of getting on a plane to come to Spain, I could just transport myself there.
I honestly think, Mark, I swear, I think that's going to happen a lot sooner than we realise. I think that's going to happen. Oh, definitely. Telepathy, it's already there. It's already there. But what I want to say, going back to that fourth dimension, because it is a case of transcending the fourth dimension. And that does involve, and that's why it's a healing journey. That's why the Great Awakening, I refer to it as the Great Healing, because it does involve releasing, we've seen the chart, releasing the lower vibrating emotions and releasing thoughts and beliefs that are vibrating at a lower frequency, which are the thoughts and beliefs that do not serve you. And can I just say something now about beliefs? Because people say, oh, it's true, it's true, it's true. Don't get into any arguments about what's true, because we know that if you look at a cylinder from one angle, it's a rectangle, and you look at it from another angle, it's a circle, and you look at it step back and have a look, and you can see that they're both right. It's actually a cylinder. So we're not worried about the truth. We're worried about, we're not worried. No, we're not worried. We're in the fifth dimension. We're not worried. I'll take that one back. But we're focusing on our energy. At every given now moment, we're focusing on our energy. So you have a thought, and then you just think to yourself, how does that thought make me feel? Right? Let's say you have an interaction with somebody, right? And then you walk away. What happens to a lot of people these days is they're like, oh God, what did I say? What do they think of me? Oh, did I really say that? Oh, I shouldn't have said, it's like that other person doesn't really exist. They're just a reflection of something within you, But the question here is, how does that thought make you feel that you, I don't know, have just humiliated yourself? Well, that doesn't feel very good. Well, don't think it then. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not, because that other person's reflecting part of you. Just choose a thought that makes you feel good. I've just had a lovely conversation with my friend. Oh, that makes me feel good. I'm going to walk away and have that thought. And it's got nothing to do with the truth, and it's got everything to do with where you are on this chart. Okay?
Yeah. I think that's a big, you make it sound really simple. I just think it's a big leap for a lot of people.
It is, and that's why I come back to the healing, and I come back to self-love, because at the end of the day, people ask, about their purpose. I do think we have a purpose, but our purpose is basically just to experience and express ourselves using the gifts that we have been given innately and divinely. And I think that learning to love ourselves and self-realization, it's about realizing who you really are. And self-love is a big one. It's a massive one. And that's one of the ones I love focusing on, because I've worked with so many people here on my retreats about aligning its energy. Okay, it's not personal. So you've got the phrase, I love and accept myself. I love and accept myself. Now, if you read Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, she talks a lot about this. And when you first say those words, how does it make you feel? Now, when I first said those words, I just cringed. I mean, I literally cringed. And she talks about mirror work, Louise Hay in her book, she talks about mirror work and looking in the mirror. I just burst into laughter, right? And that's what a lot of people would do. I've done this with kids, with the little mirrors that they have for symmetry in the classroom. And I just caught some of them looking at their own eyes. And I just said, oh, have a look at your eyes. And I could look, and some were like, they couldn't even look in their own eyes. And others were like gazing quite lovingly at them. And I thought, that's interesting, But so the vibration of the words of the belief, I love and accept myself completely, is high. Obviously, it's up there. It's up there. It's love, right? And so when you align with the energy of those words, that's life-changing. That's life-changing. But obviously, as you say, it's a process, because within you, there are beliefs, thoughts, emotions, all of which are energy, that are telling you that you don't love yourself, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, and there'll be more than one event in your life whereby you've reinforced that belief.
Yeah.
So when we work with that, yes, it can be intense. I'm not saying it isn't. It can be, but it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. And to help people align with the energy, it involves releasing. So they might have memories and thoughts of events in their life. Yeah, there might be tears, laughter, But there's a lot of energy release, and you when you release energy like that, you do feel tired and exhausted afterwards, just for a few hours, and just.
You did the heart healing on my mum, and she said, "Oh, it's weird." She said that I'd be tired, and I was tired. Never no sleep, which is
It's tiring, but it is tiring. I mean, when people come to the retreats. Day one, they're all like this, and day two they are, by day three, they're like emotionally drained and they're usually crying, and it's great, but it's cleansing, it's healing. And obviously, the other thing I want to say, there's courage, there's an emotion here called willingness.
Yeah. Willingness,
the relevance and importance and power of willingness is an important one, because it's you're walking into vulnerability.
Well, when I started this channel, it was a big jump for me, because I'm talking about I don't care anymore, and I just want to be completely honest, and it feels courageous, and it feels a willingness to be shot down, a willingness to have ridicule. I just don't care. I just don't care, because I'm done. I'm done with all of that. I want to move forward now.
Exactly, but also when you understand that everything in your reality is a reflection of a part of you, and there are no other people, that was the point that really changed things for me, because that's when I was like, well, I might as well have a YouTube channel. I might as well put myself out there and do a Facebook Live, because before I was like, but it was like, well, there is only me, so it doesn't really matter.
I think that's the message I want to leave this on, is that for anybody watching this, start a YouTube channel, start speaking your truth, don't be afraid, just get out there and just lead by example.
I agree with you, but if I can just make a point there, not everybody is going to want to have a YouTube channel. You've got to remember that you're fifth energy center, and I'm fifth energy center, so we do love talking, but there will be people that are dominant in other areas, and so it's not so much the YouTube channel, but the message is, please follow your inspiration.
Yes. That's a great way to end it, and you're an absolute legend. And I'm coming, when all this is over, I'm coming on one of your retreats.
You would be very, very welcome.
It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you, Deborah, very much. And
it's such a joy always talking to you, Mark.
Oh, well, that's very, very kind of you. I'm going to leave a link below this video for your book, and I recommend everybody. You've heard Deborah, she is, she's powerful, right? So, go and read that book, and let's catch up again when we're in 5D.
Definitely.
And
just a bit of meditation, babe, when we're there. That's not a problem.
Oh, maybe you should come back and
we should do a meditation one, yeah. Hey.
Oh, let's do that. I don't want to do it now, because people have lives to get on with. But we'll
no. There's protests going on. The place is busy, but definitely we'll connect again, and we'll continue this journey. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just want to say, on behalf of lots of people, and especially all your new followers, I want to say thank you. And by the way, that's how we connected. Was me messaging you saying thank you, and you messaged me and you said, what are you thanking me for? And I said,
oh yes,
I'm right. Thanking you for putting yourself out there, saying the things that people needed to hear, and even though you were not getting a great response in the beginning, you did it, and I think that's admirable, and I want to thank you on behalf of everybody, on behalf of me.
Thank you
for this opportunity.
Thanks, Deborah.
Love to everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, love to everybody watching this. Take care. See you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.